Hi, so today I want to go over setting up and running this French-made Gong strike wall clock. And so this clock, the important thing to remember on this clock is that the clock needs to be secured both at the top and at the bottom somehow. This clock has little picks on the back at the bottom, so that if you're hanging it on a drywall type of a wall, you can actually push it into the wall once you've got it up and leveled. So what you're going to do is the top part has to be secured and held absolutely flush to the wall. So the clock should not be leaning forward at all, and you need some sort of a screw that's going to actually hold it there. So panhead type of screw is the best to hold it in. Once you've got the clock up and it's secured properly at the top, you need to put a level across the inside base and make sure that it's absolutely level before you secure it to the wall. So you notice I've got this on a very smooth wall here, which I can't push it into. So what I've done is on either side, you'll see that there's little screws that hold it in place. And all those there to do is just to lock it so that when I do open the door, or even when the clock is just sitting there, it doesn't slide. And it's very, very critical that you understand that it has to be solid top and bottom and side to side, okay, and absolutely level. Okay, so once the clock is up and you're happy with the fact that it's nice and level and secured, then it's a matter of hanging the pendulum on the leader. This one is kind of difficult because it's hidden up in behind, so you have to sort of do it by hand. So do not hang the pendulum on it until it's on the wall, though. So once it's up, and then you can check and make sure it's sitting in the right spot by having a good look at it. Make sure that it's actually up there where it's supposed to be. You can see it on the video. Hopefully you'll be able to see it where it's supposed to hang. And then once it's hung up and it's in the right spot, just give it a little bit of a touch to get it going like so. It doesn't take an awful lot, just enough to get it ticking. And you should be able to listen to it very carefully and hear that it's ticking nice and evenly. Okay, so once you're happy with the way that the clock sounds and it's up and running, the next step is to set it on the right time. But before we get to setting it on time, I'm just going to show you about winding the clock. Winding this clock is required weekly. You can wind it more often if you desire, but at least once a week the clock needs to be wound. Winding this clock needs to be, as with all clock, fully wound. Both springs need to be completely wound up. Okay, so winding it, don't be afraid of winding it. There's no such thing as over winding the clock or winding it too tight. You can actually see that I can let the key rebound when I wind it. It should come to an absolute stop. If you're struggling to get it wound up properly, then just make sure that you take your time and that it's fully wound just like that, so there's no extra spring left there. Okay, once the clock is fully wound, then it's a matter of setting it on the proper time. Always, every time you wind the clock, get in the habit of setting it on the proper time. Setting the time on this clock can be done either forwards or backwards inside of the half hours. Do not go back past the 12 or the 6. And so as far as setting it over a longer period of time is concerned, the best rule is just simply letting the clock strike. Okay, and then going on to the next half hour. So if we were setting it at, let's say 10 minutes past 3, this is the procedure that I would use to do that. So the timekeeping on this clock is probably going to be somewhere plus or minus about a minute a day. That's quite acceptable for this type of clock. And from the factory, that would have been the parameter that they would have used, would be 1 minute a day. So that means that every time that you wind the clock, you will have to reset it on the proper time. If the clock has gained a few minutes, you can set it backwards. Again, as long as you stay inside the 12 and 6. If the clock has lost some time, then just set it ahead to the proper time, as simple as that. As far as regulating the timekeeping is concerned, making the clock actually run faster or slower, that's something we do when we overhaul and service the clock. But you may need to know, just in case the little nut gets turned on the bottom in transport, just exactly how that's done. So on the bottom of the pendulum, you see there's a little regulating nut, and that'll make the clock run faster or slower by either raising the weight on the pendulum or lowering it. If you can just remember that lower is slower, that's all you really need to know. And again, this is something that you shouldn't have to do because of the fact that we've already adjusted it all as part of the servicing that we've done on the clock. Remember, it's not going to be as accurate as a battery operated clock or a watch, and just keep that in mind when you're setting it up and running it.